Hello there, welcome to the Talking City podcast coming to you from the Manchester Evening News. My name's Joe Bray, joined by Simon Bajkowski, and we're back from Fulham, which was on Saturday, the scene of City's 4-0 win, which takes the boring title race to the final day of the season. Waiting for a potential favour for Man United on Sunday didn't happen, but plenty to discuss, and it means that City must go to Tottenham on Tuesday to win, basically, because otherwise the title is out of their hands. Si, we got to Fulham, lovely day. Accosted a little bit by a park run on the way to the ground, but it was a fantastic performance from City again, wasn't it? There was no sign of nerves or slipping up, was there?
No, it really was. It was a strong start from Fulham, who watered the pitch as well. Let's say after Guardiola had spoken on Friday about preparing on a high and dry pitch, and then it was firmly watered and regularly watered. So but Fulham started really well. I think they got in behind Akanji at right back sort of 2 or 3 times in the first 5 minutes, and they were just brave on the ball, and you were like, wow, this is not a team that has been flying kites and is on the beach. And then they did what teams can do against City, and they said, okay, you have the ball now for a bit. And for my sins, I've not watched it back, but it feels like it was about 2.5 minutes of kind of uninterrupted City possession, having Fulham had sort of, I think they had 57% over the first 10 minutes. And then City just kind of had this spell, and at the end of it, Josko Gvardiol roams into the Fulham half, exchanges passes with Kevin De Bruyne, and then slots home on his weaker foot like he's Sergio Aguero. It was like, oh my word, what are we seeing from Gvardiol? And from there on, pretty much, I mean, helped by an early injury to Ake that meant that Walker came on, so Fulham could get less down the right. But yeah, City were in a good control of the match, really.
Yeah, and I think that Akanji at right back was the sort of reason for the bit of a dodgy start from City. I think Fulham obviously targeted that area, and the Ake injury hopefully isn't as bad as it could be, but it did help because it allowed Walker to come on, who apparently hadn't trained for a few days, which wasn't ideal to bring him on 20 minutes into the game, but it did just restore a bit of balance, didn't it? The goal had come beforehand, and like you say, it was let's say Fulham had the first 10 minutes, City just put the foot on the ball, and that's what they do. They never, when they have those periods where the opposition are threatening, they never just go back with and just try and attack. They just calm down, and they just put the foot on the ball, pass it around, tire out the defence. And it was a really warm day, wasn't it? And by the end of the first half, you're thinking these Fulham players must be absolutely knackered because running around chasing the ball. But you're also thinking City have had chances, but they're only 1-0 up. And we saw it last year at Fulham. They were ahead, but only by 1 goal, and it's a bit nervous. You were waiting for that second goal to really kill the game, and it wasn't until the hour mark when Phil Foden sort of stroked home a goal, and it almost out of the blue. Really, it didn't feel like a big move, that Foden goal, did it? It was, I think Bernardo broke forward and it fell to Foden, and great finish and another goal from him. But after that, I think Marco Silva said that was it. The game was over at that point.
Yeah, I think Fulham having had like 56% possession in the first 10 minutes, ended the first half with like 32. So, you can work out, if you've got better maths than I have, what their possession was over the rest of the half. But you sort of, well, I do anyway, I kind of get drifts in games, and you sort of looking at, our team's threatening, and it tends to be a way when you sort of think that other teams are threatening, and then you think sort of Edison's not really had a shot. Edison's not had a shot to save it. And what City were really good at on Saturday was keeping the ball away from Edison's goal. Not that he's like a liability who needs to be stopped, but number one way of preventing a goal is keep the ball away from where the goalkeeper is, and City were very good at that. But in the sort of first 15 minutes of the second half, you sense that Fulham had taken a bit of satisfaction from only being 1-0 down at half time, and had started to rebuild and put some things together again. And they weren't getting near Edison's goal, but they were getting into City's final third. Adama Traore had come on as part of a double change and was causing City a few issues. And you were thinking, yeah, this game is still alive. And then a brilliant turn from Bernardo to spin away. He kind of gets upended on the edge of the box, and then a clinical finish from Foden. And yeah, it's game over, and City have pulled away. And it was, a brilliantly professional performance from them. And you don't want to say without jeopardy. Because it was there and the danger was there at 1-0, but they were perfect at killing that jeopardy.
I think, yeah, like you say, the start of both halves, Fulham targeted right back, City's right back in the first half, City's left back in the second half, and they were getting crosses in, but the crosses just weren't falling. Ruben Dias blocked a couple in the first half, and then I think there was it a Munoz chance in the second half that he
just scrambled wide. Yeah.
I think bringing Traore on was a good move because they probably saw Gvardiol was getting so far up. He scored a goal that way, but he was leaving a lot of space, and he then pegged back Gvardiol. He did go on and score at the back post from a set piece. But, I mean, Guardiola said afterwards that he didn't have a good second half. We will talk about Gvardiol a bit more in sort of the second period of this podcast. But I think what impressed me most was just the way that City were fighting to keep the ball on those long spells of possession. I think Kovacic must have risked a hamstring injury about 5 times, stretching to sort of regain the ball and just keep it going to a blue shirt. And I thought Kovacic was really good, and it was a lot of players working very, very hard to keep short passes going to tire Fulham out. And again, start the second half, maybe Fulham had a bit of pressure, and then City just did what they always do and just keep the ball, and it results in a goal. Gvardiol scores again, and by the end of the game, Alvarez is on and gets the penalty and scores it. But Erling Haaland missed a couple of chances. There was one where he found the top corner of the stand rather than top corner of the goal. But you were impressed with his sort of all-round link-up play as well. It was a game where he's probably going to get 5s and 6s on player ratings, but his contribution wasn't a 5 and a 6 contribution, was it?
No, he was very good. I think I gave him a 6, but it's sort of the inverse of a game where he might do very little but scores. He was sort of very involved and sort of coming back into his own half to get the ball and to keep the ball. And like you say, because every City player was working really hard, and Haaland was one of them. And he was an important player, and you sensed as well that Fulham were absolutely terrified of him, probably sort of having seen what he did last week to Wolves. Like every time he got the ball, it was like, oh my God. But his finishing wasn't up to scratch when it normally is, and when it was so good last week. So he missed he should have had 2 goals probably. But yeah, it was one of those afternoons where his finishing really didn't come off. But he should have been better in front of goal. But it was a performance that worked with the rest of the team. And he gets slagged off so often for sort of not being a team player. You sort of have to raise it when he is.
I generally think it's a bit of a myth now, a bit of a lazy stereotype that he doesn't contribute, and the Roy Keane League 2 stuff has sort of brought it back into the conversation. But I'd say for a while now, at least this full season, and I think that's been a bit harsh. I think for the second half of last season, he's been very good and very aware in dragging defenders all over the place, linking up, even if it's just coming deep and just one touch into Kevin De Bruyne and then spinning and going on a run. He's been doing it for a while, and I just think the idea that Haaland doesn't contribute anything other than goals isn't true and hasn't been for a while. And I don't know his stats. I think his assists are pretty similar compared to last season, but I would say Guardiola is very happy. And I mean, whenever Guardiola is asked about Haaland and his overall contribution, he sort of answers with a bit of disdain, doesn't he? He's like, we know what Haaland brings to this side.
Yeah, and also, like, I mentioned the other day, like, Guardiola knows what he's asked Haaland to do. And I think Haaland gave an interview this last week where he sort of said, like, I'm not supposed to be a Rodri, like, in the middle, controlling the game. That is not my role. He has his role and I have mine. And yeah, it like City are very happy with how he is doing. It was one of those things like there's a bit of merit in what Keane had said, but League Two is far over the top, and it's also way over the top to suggest that it's sort of an endemic issue rather than something that happened like against an Arsenal side who contain one of the best defenses in Europe. Guardiola kind of said afterwards, like Haaland occupied the space and occupied Saliba and Gabriel so that others could have space to move into. So he kind of did his role, and it wasn't necessarily his fault that City looked static up front, but they will look static up front when the big man up top doesn't really get any touches or have any chances. But, and he wasn't in amazing form at the time either, Haaland. So I think that all those things kind of have to be factored in, and it was sort of one comment on one game that went too far and suggested it was a season's worth of performances. I think I looked afterwards, and Haaland's like averaging an assist like twice as quickly as Keane did for United. So like it's not an issue. And yeah, he will be disappointed that he didn't score at Fulham. But if City are looking for a goal scorer against Tottenham or West Ham, I think he's going to be the first one putting his hand up.
I'm in the process of writing a sort of month by month review of the season, and September, October, November, he was scoring every week. I sort of forgot how regularly he was scoring.
He was, but he wasn't playing. Didn't feel like he was playing as well as he was last season, and it didn't feel like City were playing as well as they were. I felt like Haaland played better on Saturday than he did in the home game against Fulham when he got a hat trick, but he missed two chances, so it's not a good performance. And it's one of those things. He has scored another monster tally, but it's felt like this season has been more of a struggle for him, even if it's not necessarily been reflected in the numbers.
But again, if you can struggle and score, what is he on?
36 36, yeah.
And I mean, Guardiola said of Guardiola, yes, he scored, but that's not his job. So it works both ways in that he's looking for his players to do the job that he asked them to do.
Yeah.
Even if it comes with the bonus of defenders scoring, if Haaland's not scoring, he's still doing the job that he's asked.
Yeah, well, I think there was a thing with, was it Guardiola at Forest, where he got the goal, but there was a point in the first half where he ended up in the Forest box and was like, I lost my head, I didn't know where I was, and Guardiola was certainly not pleased with that.
Yeah, that was just, he just went on a run on his own, didn't he? And completely left back unattended. Before we get on to Guardiola, City, however many wins in a row, 2 wins wins the title. They've got to go to Tottenham and win. Arsenal followed it up, weren't brilliant against a pretty poor United side, but did win. This boring title race is going down to the final day, isn't it? And we were walking back from Fulham, just sort of listing off points of how it's been a very, very good title race and lots of turns and like so many. Yes, City are on top and may well win the league, but it's not been straightforward whatsoever, has it?
No, not at all. There's been like a bit knocking about this week and the last few weeks about it's a boring title race and it's boring because there's no twists or turns. And you think, well, like, you're saying that now in like the 37th game week or whatever, but like it was 31st of March City played Arsenal and drew 0-0, and that was seen as a good result for Arsenal because it kept them ahead of City, and a better result for Liverpool because it kept them ahead of both of them. It was a few weeks later where Liverpool and Arsenal both lost at home on the same day, like within hours of each other. 2 huge shocks that kind of gave City the initiative. So, and you think back to, I think if Arsenal don't win the league, their fans will point firstly to City and their excellence, and also to a run in December where they, took something like 7 from 21 points or something like that. If City don't win the league, they will point to Arsenal and they will point to a run they had in December, which was 1 win in 6. And, that is a high margin for error. But when people are saying now, you lose one game and you lose the title race. It's like, well, no, you'd lose you only win 1 in 6 and you lose the title race, and that might seem harsh, and it is because of the standards of and the quality of the teams involved. But it's not like, both teams have won 99% of their games this season. That there has been a drop. So it's I think it's been a very good title race, and it is not so long ago, April, when people were talking about what an exciting three-way title race it was. So it's just a bit easy at the end to be like, oh yeah, of course we knew that was going to happen. And it's like, all right, were you writing in December when City were losing at Villa that it was inevitable they'd win the league? Because probably not. So it's just a bit cheap in it to write at the end, oh, we knew this would happen, because you don't. And those people that have wrote those things, what if City don't win at Spurs? Because they've never won at Spurs in the league in the 5 years that the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has existed. So they should win, because you'd back them to in a title race. But, it's not an easy ground. The last place Rodri lost a game as a City player, Spurs. So there's plenty to think that Spurs might still have something to say, and all this sort of Spurs fans might not want Arsenal to win the league, but Spurs players who are still going for top 4 have plenty to play for and don't really have those kind of allegiances that the fans do.
Yeah, Liverpool were meant to be. This was meant to be their year, wasn't it, for ages? And when Klopp says he's going to go, they were in pole position to win the quadruple. That wasn't a quadruple, weren't they? And when you say that, City and Arsenal will point to each other, both will point to that game at the Etihad as well, where Arsenal came for a point, defended very well and got it. But could they have been a bit more adventurous? They would love to have got those 3 points now when they were celebrating that draw. City would obviously love to have that 3 points, and they've been champions by now. I don't know, but they'd have.
Well, I think they would have been, because I sort of think back to the year when City won it in COVID, when they were 8th around Christmas. And it's like, if any team had been good, some United fans say, it was a good achievement by Solskjaer finishing second. No, they should have come first, but they kind of threw it away by letting City back in. If there had been a good team that year, City wouldn't have won the league, but no one kind of took the initiative, and City were like, right, we've been terrible for 4 months, but if you're all going to be sort of at 6s and 7s, we're going to pull a 9 out of 10 now and go past you. And it's the same again. The reason why all this is not a title race stuff is nonsense, is because it just ignores all the pressures that each team feel every 3 days, every week. And if Arsenal had beaten City at the Etihad, that would have been such a statement. I don't think City would have as many points as they do now. I don't think they'd have won as many games, because they would have been deflated. They might have put more into the Champions League and thought, well, let's go for that, rather than sort of try and come from 3rd in a 3-horse race to win. And if Arsenal hadn't kept winning since then, other than the defeat to Villa, I don't think City would have as many points as they are, because I think City have only got as many points because they know that they need to win because Arsenal keep winning, and vice versa. So, both teams push each other. It's not like some passive thing where, they exist in a vacuum.
And as well, the 1 year that City haven't won the title in this mad run since Guardiola's first is when Liverpool just was it 30 games unbeaten at the start of the season or something like that. They just left them behind and gave them no chance. You've got to be ruthless against City, but City having all of their other titles given an opening, I would say, to someone else, even when it's 98 and 97 against Liverpool, there's always those opportunities for someone else to take advantage. So no, I think we're saying this potentially like City will win the title. It's nowhere near sort of, isn't it? And I think that Tottenham game is probably the last one that Guardiola would pick to have as a penultimate game. It feels very much like that Leicester one where Company scored, but it's
he said though, didn't he, after he won the treble, was asked how you can top it, and he said score at Spurs.
Exactly.
I don't think he ever thought it would be score at Spurs, and you will be going to the final day of the season as as title leaders, but it's funny how things turn out.
I did like David Moyes saying they'd struggle to beat the City under-14s on the final day. So
Yeah,
I think Arsenal's best hope lies with Tottenham.
Although I was reading a bit on Moyes because he's obviously off at the end of the season, and he gets on really well with Pep, and they're not a couple that you would necessarily associate as being kind of particularly chummy, but they really are. And I was reading something, and it was kind of like, the mantra with Moyes at West Ham was, if you don't run, you're not in the team. Like, he wanted those hardworking, and like you said with the City players at Fulham, like, City players work and work and work, and people will have seen like the 4-0 and said, "Oh, an easy win for City," and it was like, it's easy because they work really hard. And Pep has always said they need to be running like the conference players if they want to stay in his team, and that is sort of what has made them so good, but probably also a nice shared moment between Pep and Moyes, and I'm sure they will have a nice Sunday together.
I'm going to disprove Pep here. I've seen a lot of conference players claim their money for the team, and let me tell you, it's nothing compared to what we see in the Premier League. But we'll leave that chat there. We'll come back after a break and discuss just what's going on with Josko Gvardiol and all his goals. Welcome back to the Talking City podcast. Somehow, Josko Gvardiol has turned into City's most informed striker. Guardiola called him a winger the other day. 5 goals, 1 assist in 7 games. He's looking like he's got that left-back spot locked down for the final games of the season. He's just turned into a sort of attacking force, hasn't he? It's sort of come from nowhere. Was it 0 goals in 32, 33 games and then 5 in 7?
Yeah, and none of them have come on his left foot, even more curiously. I think 4 on his weaker right, and one's been a header. Nobody saw it coming, and all the goals have just been really, really good. And it's funny because we've kind of spent the season saying he looks a bit out of sorts playing at left back rather than centre back, and we spoke to him early in the season. He was like, "Yeah, it's a lot more running than I'm used to or would like necessarily." And now he's just charging up and down and like, scoring worldies. It's amazing. Every year you expect someone at City to step up, but you never expect it to be their left back. Cancelo did it a bit for City as kind of a rampaging left back / number 10, and that was a really good tactical innovation from Pep. But I don't even think Cancelo had kind of a goals record anything close to what Guardiola's got. This guy, like, only 22, came as a centre back, so you'd think he'll play centre back at some point. It's hugely promising for City.
I think Guardiola said this week maybe that he doesn't see him as a centre back for the time being anyway. He's definitely a left back, and it feels like there's been a lot of hard work gone into training him into that position, because at the start of the season he did look a little bit lost and not good, very good on the ball, but maybe the positional, the tactical parts of the game were needed improving. But he's got that. He's working out how to join the attack, and he's popping up, and he's not just scoring good goals, he's scoring big goals, like the third in a 3-3 draw at Real Madrid. The Luton one was, I think, the 5th of 5 where City had won comfortably, but he's put them ahead at Forest, at Fulham. The third one at Fulham kills the game as well. He's not scoring consolations, is he, or like the final goal in a big win?
No. He's not afraid to get up the pitch, and like we said before a few times, it's not always what Guardiola wants, but if the space is there, the feeling is in the City final third, like, if you think you can do it, do it. So Guardiola's doing it. It's pretty. It's just pretty remarkable, and must come as a surprise to opponents, because they when they look down the list of threats they've got to deal with every week and put work into stopping Haaland and Foden and everyone else, like how low down the list is Guardiola, but he's still making the difference. It's pretty extraordinary.
And I mean, Guardiola was obviously full of praise for him, but did remind him that his main job is to be a defender. And as we said before, his second half defensive performance might not have been up to scratch. And Guardiola did say that there was a point where I think he gave the ball away or something didn't work, and you could see Guardiola with his head in his hands on the opposite side of the pitch. And there was another one where I think Rodri wanted him to get a bit further up or offer a different kind of pass, and made it clear that wasn't good enough. So he does need to do that. But I mean, I always find it interesting whenever Guardiola or anyone at City talks about Guardiola, it's for the next 10 years in mind. It's not just this season. So whatever happens this season is a bonus, really. But you're looking at a player like this and the way he's progressed over this season in terms of his all-round defensive and offensive performance. You're looking at someone who can really, really kick on, and it took Cancelo a season to learn those basics. He seems to have got that now, and you would imagine next season, is it the time to sort of move him back into the centre and train him in that? But he looks like a Pep player first and foremost, doesn't he?
Yeah. And it's like we were saying about Haaland, didn't think Guardiola was that good in sort of general play, and he was kind of together with Foden on the left, and Foden wasn't great either. They just kind of weren't on each other's wavelength and weren't helping each other out as they have done in other games. But when you're popping up and scoring 2 goals, like nobody's gonna. I mean, Pep will complain because that's his job, but no one else is going to be like, oh well, he didn't pass very well because of this. So he is. Looks every inch the Pep player and looks like a player that will get better and better. And I mean, last season we had kind of John Stones rampaging forward from centre-back, and there's still space to do that. And Akanji started off doing that at Fulham, but Guardiola offers something different again. And they're just, I mean, the potential is so big for him. It's hugely exciting for City.
I think that is the most exciting thing, isn't it? You've got a player who isn't the finished article and he's playing like this already, and he's 21. And I mean, Guardiola said he came in on his day off when everyone got 3 days off. He was in the training ground, working in the gym with the coaches, and it's that sort of attitude that I think impresses Guardiola a lot. And it's the sort of thing that you see Ruben Dias doing and John Stones and players like that. You mentioned Stones. It's 1 start in 7 now for Stones. He's had his injury and fitness problems, but I think he's not completed 90 minutes since the away game at Real Madrid. I asked Guardiola afterwards and he said he's fine, he's fit, but Akanji's playing better, Ake's playing better, and you've got to perform well consistently if you want your space. And he said we'll need John Stones, but at the moment he's not getting in. And if you said 12 months ago you go into a final week of the season, 3 must-win games for 2 titles, and John Stones would be probably 5th choice in defence, considering Walker came on ahead of him at Fulham. I don't know. I agree with Guardiola that the players who are in form should keep the shirt, and to extend the Guardiola conversation, then he deserves to be the left back at the moment, and that has a knock-on effect because Akanji and Ake are playing well. But to go into these games without John Stones feels unthinkable even a few months ago.
Yeah. And all you can say is that Guardiola's seeing them every day in training, and he's looking at who deserves to play, and Stones right now isn't getting ahead of his teammates who are playing very well. Ruben Dias was in the same boat and then came back in on Saturday and did really, really well. I thought he was excellent at Fulham, and is now put up a case to say, yeah, I should be starting these last few games. And so from that perspective, there's every chance that if Stones does come in for a game, then he puts in that kind of performance, say, yeah, you need to play me again. I don't think there's any long-term issues with Stones. I think it's just like it's not been his season. He's had loads of injury problems, had loads of setbacks, and he's never really got into a rhythm of playing. And I think sometimes you just have to write it off and say, it's not been your season, and, come back stronger next year. And as long as it's not at that point where which it did get to with Stones, where there were more seasons that you were writing off than there were that you could say he'd done very well in and was essential, then it's not an issue. But I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't really have a big part to play in the final 2 games, because kind of City have got where they are without him to the large extent.
And it's not like he's been playing bad when he does play. It's just
no, he's not. But then
every time he's in, there's a setback, isn't there?
Yeah, you tend to look at Stones and you think, like, he just makes the team look better when he's in and when he's fit. But when he's not fit, he makes the team, you think so, like the Chelsea semi-final at the FA Cup, when no one played well, but Stones in particular looked really ropey against Jackson. Whereas, like, the first leg at Real Madrid, he looked really good. And it's just one of those things. When he's on form, he's one of the biggest assets you could hope for. But if he needs time to get into that, and you've not really got time because you're 3 games away from the end of the season, then it's difficult. Like, I'm sure he'll get his minutes for England at the Euros, because he's, like, hands down the best defender they've got. So, he will play and build up a rhythm then, but it's just kind of difficult to drop him in when you've got others who are playing so well.
And I think it speaks to the levels of Akanji and Ake and Gvardiol for how they're in a position for these final games of the season, where it would be very, very harsh to drop them. If Ake's injured, we'll find out later today when we go to the press conference, that might help return Diaz and potentially Stones to the lineup. But yeah, I think it's refreshing on one hand that those players who were not in the side last year know that they are this year if they play well. And that was essentially Guardiola's message. He said the same about Jack Grealish, who is in a very similar boat. He's not played badly, but he just hasn't been able to get a run of games, and even just being ill against Fulham, I think he might have started, but he just wasn't able to, and now he's got a fight on his hands again to be in that side for the final games of the season, where last year he was another one who was locked in on that left wing, but things have changed, and it's a credit to those players who've come in when others are injured. And yeah, I think Stones and Grealish might, like you say, might be an England summer rather than a City one, but yeah, it's a tricky one considering just how good he was last season. But it's not I agree with you, it's not a long term issue. We will be back after a final short break to discuss Tottenham, what kind of team Guardiola will put out, and will City do what they need to do to go into the final day ahead of Arsenal. Hi there, welcome back to the Talking City podcast. Spurs away on the final week of the season. As we mentioned before, no goals, no wins. Is it 4 or 5 defeats in the league at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? He did go there in the FA Cup in January and get that goal, get that win. So that is sort of a monkey off the back, if you like, in terms of that record. But it is not the game you would want for City. I think a lot of it will depend on the Liverpool versus Villa result tonight. If I'm right, if Villa win, Tottenham can't get Champions League, and that might just demoralise them a little bit. Postecoglou didn't sound too confident that they'd be able to win. He was sort of saying, we'll put up a fight, we'll do the best we can, but they're without 6 or 7 key players. They've not really got any left back. They've got a few out of form players. Richarlison, who's a good player, is out. It's one that if City are ever going to win there, I think it's got to be this week. And the fact that they can't even start to think about that previous record, they've only got to go and think, we've got to win to continue keeping their hopes of winning the title. I think that will help them. And I don't think City fans, I mean, obviously they will be nervous, but they won't be as nervous as they might have been if they'd gone earlier in the season.
Yeah, like some of the performances at Tottenham have been brilliant. They've just not scored. Like it's been maybe 2 out of the 4 league defeats. They've sort of put up unreal numbers in front of goal and missed, and Spurs have had like one chance and scored both times, and you're like, oh, what are the chances of this happening ever again? Then it's like, yeah, this the same time next year, lads. So yeah, I think this City team are really good at sort of phasing out, disappointments and victories. Like, I think Pep and a few players have said it, like you celebrate, you have a shower, you move on, you go on to the next one, like you put it behind you. And Haaland especially has been praised for sort of the way in game he can just shrug off a miss and score the next chance. So City are always out for the next opportunity. And so I don't think they will read too much into the sort of the issues at the stadium, but it will be in Pep's mind because those kind of things do simmer with him. And he's got to,
that he mentioned it at the end of last season as a joke, but it's come back round now and it is relevant, and it's going to be part of the build-up for sure.
And City know how good a manager Postecoglou is because of his CFG previous, and he will be determined. I did think it was very funny that they did the lap of honour on Saturday.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Yeah, there's clips on Twitter of all sort of with the families, and it's understandable because it was an afternoon game, so all the families were there and all the kids, and they're not going to be there at midnight, are they? All fans, you've stayed till 11 o'clock to see us lose 3-0 to City. Can you please stay on to show your appreciation? Like, no one would be sort of crucified for leaving at that point. Whereas you're more likely of everyone sticking around if it's a Saturday afternoon, a sunny Saturday afternoon. So but it was quite funny because there were just a lot of meltdowns from Arsenal fans being like, "How are these guys going to get points off City if they've already had the lap of honour? They're done for the year." But Postecoglou getting more criticism and scrutiny than he's probably had all season, and under the caution, probably going to miss out on top 4 and needs points to secure top 5 and Europa League football. And Chelsea, Newcastle, and United are all kind of coming up on their tails. So he's got a point to prove. They're away at Sheffield United on the final day of the season, so they should win that game, and that would get them over the line for 5th. But if 4th is still there is that chance. And these players they want to win football matches, like they still do every time they turn out on the pitch. So you would say City will be more motivated, but Tottenham will still be motivated enough to win the football match.
I think a point will get them 5th place if 4th is not available. So they do have something to play for, and it's obviously if they win, they hand Arsenal the title, and there's that sort of thing. But like you say, the players won't be concerned about that at all. We've seen Man United lose or win to hand City titles in the last few years, and it's that has been done before. It's not, their result doesn't determine what happens with the title, but it was 3-3 at the Etihad. City should have won that. They were furious that they didn't get a chance to go through on goal in the last minute, and that was a big talking point. But Tottenham, even though I believe they had some injuries at the time, they always do seem to cause City problems. So I think City will know, and they will have that memory fresh that they need to be on the game. But again, I'm going to come back to it. The fact that they were scrapping for every single loose ball at Fulham shows a team who desperately want to win the title, and they're going to do every little thing they can to do that. And I mean, I didn't quite see the Gvardiol and Alvarez conversation for the penalty, but was it Gvardiol saying he didn't want the penalty, or was it Walker saying?
Walker, from what I can make out, Walker offered it to Gvardiol, said, "You take the penalty because you're on a hat trick," and Gvardiol said, "I would love to take this penalty, but Alvarez is the penalty taker. He should take it."
I mean, that again looks like a team who aren't in the mood for sentiment or anything. They're just
No,
win.
no, no, because you've also got. I mean, we don't want to go into this very much, don't we? But there is goal difference, isn't there? Which is now a thing.
Yeah, well, Guardiola said it doesn't matter because if City draw, then Arsenal will have a better goal difference anyway. There's a difference of 3, isn't there?
It's a difference of 3. So if City draw and they're level on points with Arsenal for the final day and 3 goals behind them against a West Ham team who David Moyes had just said they'd struggle to beat City under 14s, if City score 3 goals in the first 20 minutes, Arsenal at home to Everton, we could have an all-time scramble on our hands as both teams trying to outscore each other live on the same afternoon, which would be absolutely incredible, but far too stressful for any fan to sort of contemplate. And it would be like 2012 when United fans celebrated at the final whistle, thinking they'd won the title, and then those Sergio Aguero goal meant that City won it on goal difference. So it would be an unbelievable finish to this bore fest of the Premier League season. But it's the finish that no set of fans want, and City in particular will want to get the job done against Tottenham on Tuesday, so that they know that all they need to do is win against West Ham and they win the title.
12 years ago today, on Monday, that Aguero goal. I mean, you say no fans would want it. I remember watching that as a neutral and absolutely loving it. But no City or Arsenal fans would want it, but everyone else would be. I mean, everyone else would be double screening, wouldn't they? Yeah. God, I sound old there. Is that good for us journalists covering it, or is that just a nightmare?
Well, it just be mental. Could you imagine, like, City win 6-0 against West Ham and lose the league by a goal? And you say, look at these losers, second place, only beat West Ham 6-0.
I almost want that, not for City to lose the title, but I want this scenario to play out, because it would just make for a very stressful week, though.
Yeah. It would be very, very tense indeed. And yeah, the players will want to avoid that at all costs. And
obviously, defeat at Tottenham would leave City reliant on Arsenal not winning on the final day. So it's very, very important. And I think I said before, I think it's going to be a Leicester type evening in Tottenham, because I'm not expecting a good football match, but I think the nerves are going to take over.
Yeah, although one thing City have done very well recently is score early in games and take that control away from the opposition. So, I think if they can do that, then they will be able to have a more pleasant evening than they've had in North London for a good while. But it's going to be stressful for all the fans going down, who last time they were down there ended up Poznan'ing with all 3 tiers, didn't they, with that late FA Cup goal? So I had a right old time. I think the away end will be. It was very good on Saturday at Fulham, and I think it will be very good again. Well,
almost very good, apart from Noel Gallagher, who didn't fancy the Poznan himself. But that image is iconic already, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, maybe very good.
I just like the sort of contradiction of City fans singing Amarillo and Stone Roses songs, and just Noel Gallagher there just standing still, just trying to watch the football. But
well, Noel was behind me for the Spurs FA Cup game in some of the posher seats, and it was going absolutely spare as they missed chance after chance late on, and then the joy when they did score, he very much celebrated then.
That'd be great if he's there again tomorrow. That'd be cracking. We won't report on the game. We'll just report on Noel Gallagher, because that seems to be the priority on Saturday. Are they going to win? Are they going to beat Spurs?
I think so. I think they will. I think just this City team know how to get things done, don't they?
Yeah, I think it'll be 1-0 or 2-1, and if it's a draw, I wouldn't be surprised. I think City are better than Spurs, and they have a better side and they're in better form, but it's not an easy game at all.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
we'll have all of the previews, the team news, the match action as it happens, and all the reaction from Spurs. We're going down there tomorrow, and you can follow it all on the Manchester Evening News and throughout the week as we build up to the final day, which the title will go down to the final day. Whatever happens at Tottenham, we'll have everything you need to know on the Manchester Evening News. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a busy week, but I think
it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. It's a time when we're looking forward to covering these games, and as nervy as it will be for the fans, to have the chance to be in the running for the Premier League title in the final week. It's exciting for them as well.
As Guardiola said, that's all he wants. He just wants to be there and have that chance, and City definitely have it in their own hands for now. We'll as I say, everything you need to know will be on the MEN from Tottenham, and ahead of the West Ham game. We'll be back on Friday to dissect what happens in North London and look ahead to the weekend. And you can, if you give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, reviews, anything you can do to help us on the Talking City podcast, much appreciated. And we'll be back on Friday to see just what happened in London on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us.